Welcome to the Bellino Shots podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Marco.
And I'm Lauren, and we are here today with our special guest, Clara Bellino.
So Clara, what age did you first begin songwriting, and when did you decide you wanted to spend your life making music?
That's a good question. I actually wrote poems before I wrote songs, and so I started writing poems probably when I was, 8, 9, and some time in my first year of high school, I had a great French teacher who actually asked us to write poems, and I was listening to a lot of Bowie, and I decided to, I was also already playing music, decided to put my poems to music. And so I'd say it was around the age of 10 or 11. When did I decide I wanted to spend my life making music? That was kind of a progressive decision. It's an ongoing decision. At one point I felt like I was making the decision that that's what I would do. And then I came to the realization that it was just part of me, and I was clearly doing it because I loved it. And if, there are times when my goals were, I wanted to be a rock star and all those things, and I achieved some of the fun that I think is part of, being a musician and touring and all of that. But there was a point where I realized that whatever goal I achieved with music, I really was doing it because I loved it. So I'd say gradually in my late 20s, I came to the realization that it was always going to be part of my life in one way or the other.
So from at that point and say your late 20s to now, how do you think your songwriting capabilities have changed throughout the years?
I'd like to think I've grown as a songwriter. I think definitely when I first moved to the US, I was writing songs that were really kind of abstract, and I'll never forget one time being asked in an acting class to sing a song, to belt it out, and I was really mousy, and I realized that I felt like my songs didn't hold together unless there was, the rhythm machine and the keyboards and the stuff, and so from then on, and I continue to learn about songwriting. I think my songs have become more, more well-crafted in the sense that they've opened up to the listener. It's not like I write songs guessing what the listener would want to hear, but I write songs in a way that is much less about me in the lyrics. I mean, obviously I share my heart, but I've learned to tell stories in a way that others can relate to it, and it's not just that story that happened to me, I guess.
Is there a aspect about writing your own music that you find the most enjoyable, and what do you find to be the most difficult part about writing your own music?
I love when I have a subject that I'm excited about. That's the first, deciding what it's about is sometimes the first difficulty, but and then the next most difficult part is getting to the point where it's done, because I often do just like a rough draft. I've learned not to feel like the first time I write something, each line has to be perfect before I go to the next one. And so after the rough draft, it's like removing, the excess stuff, the useless stuff, the stuff that doesn't add anything. So the hardest part for me is and the most enjoyable part is to go, okay, that's it. It's, it says what I want it to say without any excess baggage. And so it's both the hardest and the most enjoyable part. Yeah, that's what I would say about it.
Do you ever collaborate or co-write with other artists? Or is there a particular artist or singer that influences your sound or your lyrics even?
Both. I love co-writing. I have done some co-writing. I'm actually doing more co-writing. I really love co-writing, and it takes you in directions you can't anticipate because there's somebody else's input. I'll give you an example. There was a song, I had the first verse for a song once, and I had already named it Better With You, and I co-wrote with a friend who, after he heard the first verse, said, okay, well, why don't we make this from the point of view of somebody who is terminally ill? And that was quite a twist on where I was going with it. But I stayed open to the idea, and we wrote a song that I really love. So I love co-writing, and I always do it from the point of view of, or from the place of, okay, it's 50-50. We just share 50-50 because we both, if it's two people, we both put our best foot forward. I love the freedom of saying, we're not going to say, oh, you had this chord idea and I had this word idea, and so you should get 30% and I should, or whatever, So I just love that throwing together, putting your best foot forward. Is there a particular songwriter that influences my sound or lyrics? I love lyrics, and I have a few favorite artists. I'm not sure that they influence my sound. Often by the time I write a song or record it, I listen to a bunch of sounds from a bunch of artists, and then I kind of don't listen to music at all while I'm finishing my album, because I want to really kind of have a blank space, like a space where what comes out of me, everything's being done under the sun, but I like kind of making an empty space to create what each song is going to be.
Mm-hmm. When you are writing your songs alone, where do you typically find your inspiration for your lyrics?
A lot of the times, I was asked that not too long ago. A lot of the times I find my inspiration, the beginning of the inspiration for a song in my dreams. I have really pretty vivid dreams, and I don't remember them all the time, but they usually parallel something that and sometimes in crazy ways, something that I'm thinking about or concerned about or trying to figure out, so that's often just the starting point for a song. And I'll give you an example. I gave, for example, with the beginning of this confinement and how is music going to move forward. I had this dream where I was in an open house, which to this day in California are not really happening, and it was packed with people. It was this beautiful house that was for sale, but they were having tons of people in it and fabulous buffet, and a friend of mine was singing on top of the piano, and I haven't seen her in like 25 years, and she was doing a great job. And then we got taken outside to be shown what the future of music looks like, and it was these 5 like cyclops. I don't know if you know those people with hair and a big eye in the middle, and they were physically distanced on the hill, and they were the music that they were making was just basically grunting noises. I mean, it was like and I was in my dream, I was like, oh no, this can't be the future of music. So that was an example of the beginning of a song for me, where I'm writing a song. I'm not sure what it's going to be called yet, but on the power of music, the future of music, the importance of being creative, and it's still pretty vague, but that's a subject that is close to my heart, obviously.
So most people listening have their own personal favorite song of yours, but do you have your own favorite song or maybe album that you wrote? I like all of them, and I have to say that my most recent album is the one that I'm proudest of, and I'm not sure if that's even true. I mean, I had some really things on other albums that I felt were really creative in ways that I was like, how did I do that? And the new one is I think the most professional sounding in terms of sound quality, and one song that's really close to my heart on there, and I'm not sure it's the most accessible to people, is my song called Talking with Angels, song for Bobby Sharp. It's a song I wrote for Bobby Sharp, who wrote Unchain My Heart, who was a really close friend of mine for 10 years, and he had given me a song that
he had written in 1947, and we recorded it together. He sang on it, we recorded it as a duet, and also I recorded it solo. And after he passed away, I wrote that song for him, and that's a song I'm really proud of. It's kind of unusual, but I wrote the whole chart, and most of the musicians who played on it at first were like, how does that work? And I'm like, it works, you'll see. And after it was done, my producer said, you know what, that song, it really does work. I had a hard time convincing people, but I was like, it's gonna work. So that's a long answer to your question. That's one of my favorite songs that I've written.
So one last question for you today. Is there any advice you would want to give anybody struggling with songwriting?
Sure, keep doing it. I know some people say, oh, I wait for inspiration. I think inspiration comes when you're consistent with writing. And so even if one day you're like, gosh, I don't know what to talk about, I don't know what to write a really crappy song. It doesn't matter, write, because in the process of writing, and I don't always take my own advice. There are times when I don't write for too long for my own taste. So, but I would say if you're wondering what to talk about, write anyway. Doesn't matter. You don't have to write a hit every time you write. Let yourself write whatever comes through your mind, and you, by doing that, you'll come up with what you want to talk about. The other thing I would say is keep learning. I'm very excited, for example, that next month I'm attending online, obviously, a songwriting boot camp for 6 days. I signed up for this class that's given by the Songwriting Academy. I think they're based in London. And I listened to a free live webinar that was very inspiring to me. And I'm super excited about that, because during this, my answer is keep sharpening your skills, whatever you have to do. And that's one thing I've decided, because right now I miss performing as much as I used to. I have to find a way to grow during this time. And so I would say, if you're struggling with songwriting, but you really love the idea of, not just the idea, you enjoy writing songs, just keep doing it and keep learning. That's, I'm excited for, I've been doing this for a number of years, and I'm excited that I know I'm going to learn some things that are going to make my songwriting better. And maybe some of where I'm going with my songwriting is to be able to sell songs to artists who are through being bigger artists in the sense of, not just independent musicians. Maybe I can have songs performed by other people too.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I am here today with Delaney, who's another member of Claratone Records, and she is here today to discuss her job in the company.
Yeah, hi. So I've been working on Clara's TikTok. I created an account for her a couple months ago, and I've basically just been focusing right now on posting exclusive promotional content for her music, her YouTube channel, trying to get people to join the mailing list. And TikTok is all about just trying to connect with people with similar interests. And Clara has multiple interests, from cats, gardening, music, reaching over all areas. So my main goal on the app, as I've been working through it, has just been trying to connect with people that seem to have similar interests to Clara, reaching out to them, trying to get them listening to it. So if anyone has those interests and is interested in following her, it's Clara Bellino 1 on TikTok. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Delaney, for being here, and that is the end of the episode today.
Hope you enjoyed the show. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Bellino Podcast.
And you can catch our other episodes of the Bellino Podcast on SoundCloud and YouTube. Thanks for listening, and talk to you soon.